guys, this is Tabiasobi, and today I'm going to show you how to beat the Behemoth, which is the last boss for Exoprimal. Yeah, so with a ton of mechanics to keep track of, the Behemoth fight in Exoprimal can be a bit confusing at first. Why is Behemoth glowing? What do I do with that hammer behind the barrier? What are those posts at the far corners of the map? Does he, look infected to you? Add the fact that you have massive dinosaur hordes nibbling at your feet or outright mauling you as you ponder those questions, and it's easy to get overwhelmed during Exoprimal's final boss battle. The good news is that knowledge is power, and that's exactly what I'm going to give you in this guide. Honestly, the fight actually gets much easier once you know what to do, especially given that you have 35 respawns for your team to use in a pinch. Now let's break down each phase of the Behemoth fight and what you need to do. For phase 1, you will need to destroy a barrier. So your first job is to protect the area with a post that's marked A from a horde of dinosaurs, as well as Behemoth's long-range attacks until Nadi can generate a special hammer that you can then use to break the nearby isolation device, which is what's powering the shield. Anyway, a tank with a shield such as Roadblock will be great to have up front, as it can basically block both. And by that I mean hordes and Behemoth's attacks. Have another tank as backup just in case, and a couple or so bodyguards to get rid of any stragglers, and you should be golden. And then the rest of the exosuits should just get rid of the dinosaur waves as they pop up wherever. Then after about 1 minute, you'll find the Omega Hammer where the post used to be. Pick it up and then use it to smash the cylinder that's generating the barrier around the Vortexer. After the barrier is broken, just pick up the Vortexer and then you can use it to immobilize Behemoth. Note that whoever picks it up will be limited in terms of the actions that they can do, so they'll be a bit of a sitting duck. Well, a walking duck to be more exact. So preferably, you'll want a tank to pick up the hammer if possible, because tanks have higher HP. Roadblock, for example, would be perfect, because he can also shield himself from Behemoth's bombardment. Just to be safe, it's also important to have at least one person escort and protect whoever is carrying the Vortexer until they make it to the Behemoth. For example, if an exosuit that doesn't have a shield picks it up, you might want to escort it with a Roadblock, because like I said earlier, Roadblock can actually block the bombardment from Behemoth. And then should the carrier of the Vortexer get taken down by bombardment, just have another exosuit pick it up and continue the march to Behemoth. In case you're free, you can also go revive the fallen ally just to make sure that you don't use up a respawn. And then just make it all the way to Behemoth with the Vortexer and then use it on the boss to trigger the next phase. Yeah, so once Behemoth is immobilized, you will need to defend the Hammerhead's carrier jet while it converts high Zol to low Zol at a couple of stations. The carrier jet will have 4000 HP, so make sure it doesn't go below that or the conversion will be delayed, and that'll eat up some of the time on your clock. The first station will be at the southeast part of the map, just near where you got the Omega Hammer. Get rid of the dinosaur waves that pop up until the carrier is done. Don't forget to install laser turrets or protective shields if you happen to pick them up. And then the carrier will just move to the opposite spot on the southwest station, and then convert the high Zol there as well. Protect the carrier jet once again, and then be specially wary of Neosaurs that blow up, as they can do big damage to the carrier jet. If the jet runs out of HP, you will just need to hang in there and defeat the enemy waves until it restores itself, which can take a bit of time. After that, you will then be treated to an explosive cutscene, literally, and then the next phase starts. My advice is to start running toward Behemoth ASAP. That's because Behemoth will start glowing and a red exclamation point will appear next to it, which is your team's cue to start hitting Behemoth with your strongest attacks. This is basically a DPS check, and failure to inflict enough damage will make Behemoth do a Supernova attack. This attack can wipe out your entire team and eat a big chunk of your respawns, unless you have your suits very far away. Otherwise, you can avoid the Supernova 2 ways. Like I said earlier, one way is to go all the way to the back near the respawn point, and that will put you far enough to avoid it. The other is to go switch suits, just as Behemoth does the Supernova, which will give you some invincibility, but then you'll have to time it right. And then we go to the next phase, which again involves destroying a barrier. Leviathan will generate 2 isolation devices this time around, and you will need to procure 2 Omega Hammers to break the barrier and access the Vortexer. There will be 2 locations that you will need to protect this time, which are marked A and B, one of which is in the east platform and the other on the west platform. So basically you'll need to split into 2 teams. It would be best if each team has at least 1 tank and 1 healer, although 2 tanks would be ideal. You can actually have, say, a Roadblock block the laser from Behemoth's ranged attacks to protect teammates, and then have a Murasami tanking and countering any large dinosaurs, like the Triceratops for example. Just make sure there is someone standing near the post so it can charge to 100% and release the Omega Hammer. Note that even if you block Behemoth's laser, it can still set the platform floor on fire. This fire can damage any exosuit standing on it, so make sure to get off the platform or your suit will get destroyed. Kinda like my weekend because I was playing this game so much. The fire should die down after 15 or so seconds. By the way, Behemoth can also send out shield drones to generate a barrier around the platform, which then prevents you from accessing it to charge it up. When this happens, just shoot the drones, and that should take down the barrier. Once again, the Omega Hammer pops up, grab it, or protect whoever grabs it, and then destroy the isolation device. Hopefully, the team on the other side is successful as well, and you or an ally can now grab the Vortexer once more. This brings on the next phase where you will see Behemoth glow once again, and so you'll need to make sure to send over some suits to attack it to cancel its Supernova. By the way, you'll need to do more damage this time, so if you have a super all charged up, I recommend switching to an attack exosuit, and then use the super for bigger damage. As usual, if the exosuit who's carrying the Vortexer goes down, make sure you or someone else picks it up. Ultimately, the goal is to attack Behemoth with the Vortexer once more. Doing so will make Behemoth vulnerable, and so you can hit it with your strongest attacks to whittle down its HP as much as you can. Once Behemoth hides its weak spot, make sure to run away. That's because Behemoth will then use an attack that will reduce you to 1 HP. If you're playing as a healer, go ahead and heal your teammates. If not, you can use a healing rig or go to a healer in order to get all topped up again. Watch a scene and then get ready to destroy 4 isolation units this time around in order to get rid of the latest barrier. So many barriers. You'll basically need to protect and charge up 4 platforms this time, marked A, B, C, and D, so you can get 4 Omega Hammers. This is basically like phase 5 times 2, so just use the same strategies. Just be careful when standing on the edge of some of the platforms, as you can get pushed off, which is an automatic death. Also make sure to have enough bodies on each point, so you can revive any fallen players and save your respawns. Once you've unlocked all the Omega Hammers and destroyed all barriers, get the Vortexer once again and hit Behemoth once more. This will expose his weak point one last time, and so make sure you have as many members of your team hitting the weak point with your strongest attacks, supers, the kitchen sink, your shoe, basically everything you've got. Last game of the season, can't hold anything back. Yeah, so your goal here is to reduce Behemoth's HP to 0 before you run out of time or respawn so you can finally bring down the giant exosuit. Congratulations, you have now beaten the last boss of Exoprimal. As always, if you have any thoughts or questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Once again, this is Tabi Asobi, and thank you for watching.
Emergency transdimensional data transfer.